you worked in the business. That's
about 7 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt, but okay. So you get the.
Oh, good questions though.
Yeah, but you saw you were in San Francisco when you were on the receiving end of this communique from witnesses in the Navy off of Alaska, and you've also of course testified before Congress. What were tell us some of the sightings, and basically try and cobble together what is your interpretation of all this data, because different people interpret this phenomena in different ways, and just lead us to what your personal conclusion is, if you could.
Sure. I can give it to you in a nutshell, and I can back it up, with a lot of information.
Well, I
just want to clarify one thing. I did not testify before Congress. I testified before the National Press Club, and we were seeking a congressional hearing so that we each stated that we're willing to testify under oath before Congress that our testimony was, real. The congressional hearing was denied by the Bush administration, and in a nutshell, basically, I guess, explain a long, complicated story that's hard for, I think, some people. There's a lot of spectrum of different levels of awareness of the subject out there in the public, and I like to try to communicate to the average guy who, just thinks, UFOs, if I see one, then I'll believe it, bring me a piece of it, the type of thing.
Well, Dan, why don't we do this? In the 2 minutes that we have before the break, why don't you give us your basic thesis, then we'll carry the break, and then in the next 20-minute segment, we'll just basically present all the underlying evidence that leads you to the thesis that you have.
Sure. Basically, extraterrestrial craft did come to this Earth. It was reverse engineered. The major corporation compartmentalized it and put into unacknowledged special access projects so nobody could get into these things. The major corporations that own these major corporations had interest in the oil industry and the energy industry, and tied into the industrial military complex. Basically, back in 1954, they lost control of it. They went deep black. Our legal government has been out of the loop, as well as the rest of the public. There are operatives within. We have a list of operatives in the CIA and NSA. Their job is to secure national security interests with the subject so that it never gets out into the mainstream media, and it maintains the secrecy on this. And the main reason for this is that there is a controlling interest, secret government, whatever you want to call it, that has kept this loop of lies happening. And what we're attempting to do in the Disclosure Project is to break this loop, bring out the truth about it, bring out the technologies that have been hidden, that we haven't needed oil or wars for oil, for like 40 years. And that's it in a nutshell.
Wow, that's great. So, okay, we're going to roll to the break. Tonight, our guest is Dan Willis of the UFO Disclosure Project, and he's detailing some of the evidence about all of this phenomena that's been going on for quite some time. Now, Dan, your basic thesis is that, that whether it be at Roswell or sometime prior to that or whatever, that they were able to capture in one way, shape, or form some alien craft and reverse engineered it. For example, do you believe, with all of these potential sightings out there, now, granted, there are a few people who didn't see what they thought they saw at all, but many of these people did, in fact, see some kind of craft. That is not to say that all of this is alien aircraft, because after all, if our government has captured this and reverse engineered the technology for the profit of the major corporations that really control our government, isn't it prudent to believe that what a lot of people see that they believe are UFOs are actually government experimental aircraft.
No, absolutely, Eric. Yeah, you're totally on. Well, yeah, some experimental and some, fully operational. Yeah, maybe
Sure.
Even half of the stuff is classified craft. In fact, we have witnesses that have witnessed these what they're called ARVs, alien reproduction vehicles, that hover and can go the speed of light. We have witnesses that have seen these things, and we even have witnesses that have testified that they had the industrial military complex or whatever in the Black Robe projects have planned to do a false flag scenario in the future to want to build space-based weapons to fight extraterrestrials, but it's all a lie. It's basically made in USA. So I just want
to... It's interesting that you bring up that point, because I've always long and thought, as we really no longer march towards global government, we're really sprinting headfirst into it. The whole purpose of government from the early primitive stages of man, the purpose of government was to protect the tribe from another threatening tribe. Now, if all the world merges into one government, the purpose of government is to provide defense from other governments. If there's only one government, who are they protecting them from? Who are they protecting you from other than yourself? And therefore, what they'll obviously lead in and to make a premise of having this global world government is, we're going to protect you from alien predators and, and all of this hysteria that they'll ram down our throats through the mass media. Do you see something like that, dovetailing with a lot of the phenomena that you're witnessing?
Okay. Well, I want to make a statement. I hear a lot of hits from Virginia that I just want to acknowledge the good service and loyalty of the people that are in our intelligence community and have done good service, and they are good people and they know who they are. And we're not talking about and even the people that are in these black projects that basically can't get out of them, if you know what I mean. They, a lot of them would like to see disclosure happen. And I think the scales are tilting more so, because when you have a situation where, you have, it's almost as though they created a Frankenstein, right? And the thing, they didn't realize that it could break the straps, and now it's operating all by itself on its own mechanism. And it's like the industrial military complex, along with the people who own and control the largest corporations in the world and the largest interests in oil and things like that, which are all kind of tied together, that are overseen by what some people call a secret government. They perpetuate this. They can't just come out and say, okay, we didn't need these wars over oil. We haven't needed to destroy the environment. We had solutions of non-polluting free energy devices back in the 40s. Everybody could have had that. But, to do that would mean to admit that all the atrocities that have happened all these years, all the people having to slave in order to pay these bills for electric and all the pollution that's occurred in the world, would all have been unnecessary. And that's why I'm thinking, the only way to break this loop is you need to have more public awareness. I have, some hope with the new administration, because a lot of people are projecting a positive, hopeful feeling, out of the Bush administration. Shifting out of that hopefully there'll be a change. And we're talking about not just change, we're talking about major, big, radical change, but in a positive direction if these things can be disclosed. And by the way, it's not a UFO disclosure project, just to clarify it, because it's not just about UFOs. UFOs, the fact that we're being visited by off-planet cultures is not a shocking reality to a lot of people, maybe to some. What is harder to digest is what is happening here on Earth and how it's maintained its secrecy and what the implications are to disclose the truth about this. So it's called a disclosure project, and disclosureproject.org is the website for anybody who wants to look it up.
Okay. But in that regard, you're speaking of, and of course, sunlight is the best antiseptic. But as we really talked to, where you're basically describing an ever-expanded and growing and powerful military-industrial complex to which, bordering on fascism is really a shadow government upon the government, and they give out information on a need-to-know basis.